Hello, everyone. Welcome to SADS Live 155. Great to get to be with you. I'm Mike Ackerman, genetic cardiologist at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and president of the SADS Foundation, the Sudden Arrhythmia Death Syndrome Foundation, where we are your home, the home for those families affected by or potentially affected by SADS conditions. What are those? They're yours: long QT syndrome, Brugada syndrome, CPVT, ARVC, whatever is your inherited heart rhythm syndrome or susceptibility for one of these, where we have become your home. So thankful that you've chosen to be part of the SADS Foundation. You are our why, and it's why we do this. And I hope we do it well. We have an incredible organization. Our CEO, Alice Laura, has led us since 2001, and her team has just done an amazing job. We have a very committed board that is trying to oversee and make sure we stay focused on our mission and our priorities. Our mission is pretty clear. It's families with SADS conditions meeting your needs. And for SADS 155, this is Gratitude Friday, our get together before Thanksgiving Day. And I hope you're getting as excited about Thanksgiving as I am. I can't wait to get to be with all of my kids and our two granddaughters and my wife's mother and father. We are really looking forward to Thanksgiving. We have much to be thankful for, don't we? And I certainly am mindful that for some of you, Thanksgiving Day is painful and perhaps brutally painful of the empty chair and the misses and the missed opportunities, especially if that empty chair is because us, the healthcare community, just missed it. We were not smart enough soon enough to figure out what was going on in your family. For some of your families, there was no misses, there was no missed opportunity. That tragedy was the declaration of the presence of a SADS condition. So I know that Thanksgiving time for some, it may be tough to be thankful, but in all things, we will try as best we can to have hearts filled with gratitude. I, for one, am incredibly thankful for SADS Nation. I love being with you all. It was great seeing you 2 weeks ago in Chicago. Wasn't SADS International just a wonderful Friday and Saturday? I loved it. Met some really, really great people, including the Brittany's Trees. I got my sweater for Brittany's Trees, and Brittany's Trees have partnered with the SADS Foundation since 2004 when they started Brittany's Trees. Brittany's neighbor, Brittany's dad, started it to honor Brittany. What happened to Brittany? Brittany tragically died suddenly, unexpectedly at age 8 from unrecognized, undiagnosed, and because it was not diagnosed, untreated long QT syndrome. 20 years of Brittany's Trees have raised almost $500,000 for the SADS Foundation. They were incredible. Their first year, they sold, I think, 22 trees. And this year, their goal, 20 years later, is 100x, 2,200 trees. That foundation, Brittany's Trees, is incredible. You can go there, connect there, give there at www.brittany's-trees.com. And you can go to the SADS website, www.sads.org. Well, lots of activities. Speaking of giving and gratitude, next about 10 days. So the first Tuesday of December after Thanksgiving week, December 3rd, is Giving Tuesday for all nonprofits. And we hope you put on your calendar that the one you'll want to do Giving Tuesday for is your organization, the SADS Foundation. This month, we're wrapping up Family Heart Health Month, or Family Health History Month, rather. And so hopefully you have benefited from being mindful of knowing your family story. What is the history that might give us clues as to what's going on for some of our families. Today, as I mentioned, for the next 30 minutes or so is your questions, my answers, your expressions of gratitude, my opportunity to read them. So whether you post a question or a gratitude, we'll do it. My wife told me last week, and I love it, that it's impossible to be anxious if you are grateful. I have to chew on that. I had to think about that for a while, but I think that is really interesting. She gave an exercise to a dear friend with breast cancer. It was just filled with anxiety. And said, just grab a piece of paper, start empty, start with a pen, and just write down everything that you are grateful for. And you'll soon find as that list gets filled up, that anxiety often just melts away. Maybe it's true that anxiety and gratitude cannot coexist. I'm sure there might be an exception to that, but as I thought about what my wife told me, and my wife is always right, that I think there might be some deep, deep truth in that. So, Jessica, you're first. Oh, and it's a good one. It's a new one to SADS Live. As uterine fibroids can produce estrogen, could they be a risk factor for LQTS2 events? There's a strong family history of fibroids in our family. I love the question because we know that estrogen seems to be LQT2 agitating in particular. And that's why, and in general, that's why we see a distinct crossover in risk in events between boys and girls after puberty and the arrival of testosterone for the boys, estrogen for the girls. Biology lesson. And we know that boys, all things considered, before testosterone, are at much greater risk of a long QT triggered event, relatively speaking, than girls before estrogen. Whereas after the arrival of testosterone, after the arrival of estrogen for the females, then women, become at greater risk. Now, that being said, that's all for the undiagnosed, untreated patient. Good news, after diagnosis and after treatment, the estrogen increased risk may be neutralized a lot. We just presented last week in Chicago, American Heart Association, a very exciting paper, encouraging paper, hope-filled paper about postpartum. And many of the long QT2 moms out there know that the postpartum phase has been deemed high risk. Some have said spooky. Some have then therefore told LQT2 moms don't get pregnant. That's nonsense. And what we've shown now and will publish soon is that we looked at all of our LQT2 moms after diagnosis, after treatment, and all of their postpartum phases. And guess what? Postpartum is not risky, spooky at all. So again, undiagnosed, untreated, yes, but after diagnosis, so same thing for uterine fibroids that may be producing estrogen. If we're diagnosed and treated, I don't think we have to worry about the fibroids. We can let you and the gynecologist decide, do the uterine fibroids need to come out for the basis of that, not because of what they may or may not be doing to agitate the long QT, because I think the risk is largely neutralized after diagnosis and after treatment. Thanks for getting us started, Jessica. And Julie gets the second one, and it's not a question. It is an expression, and she's grateful for the dedicated staff at the SADS Foundation. Seeing them work in person was amazing. And seeing Julie as a volunteer at SADS Chicago was really, really special. Here's to you. And I hope your special little one, Julie, is doing well. Been thinking about that little one that you shared with me, and trust all is going well in your family. Thank you. Where are we? And SADS Foundation is given the thank and the reminder to be short. And Alice, our CEO, my boss, is so thankful for the fantastic SADS team of staff and volunteers. They all rock, and I concur. And SADS gives the reminder, keep it short and easy. Marcia, our education pillar, Czar, who's amazing on our team, and she's grateful for good health, family, friends, SADS, work position, the incredible team, the families, the medical experts that give so much of their time and expertise to the SADS Foundation. And so thanks, Marcia. I'm thankful for you, and it was great to see you and Alice last week at American Heart Association. 2 weekends in a row we had in Chicago. SADS 2 weekends ago, and then American Heart Association, where a lot of good stuff was presented, a lot of good stuff from my team. I was really proud of them. I'm very thankful for each member on my team. Jessica, and she's thankful for the hope that SADS Foundation has given our family. And I love hearing that, because that's what we want to be about. We want to be about hope and healing, about faith over fear, about making anxiety less and optimism more, about living and thriving despite your condition. Now, it's never a yellow brick road, and I don't mean to make it sound like it's easy. It's not easy, but we almost always win, and our goal needs to be to win in every category, not just the heart, but the mental, the confidence, the hopefulness, the mental health journey that families have when they have their thing, their SADS thing lurking in the background. And so I'm glad that you find hope in the SADS Foundation. SADS is reminding about Giving Tuesday. It's been every day since 1991. That's a lot. 24 plus 9, 33, fancy math, 33 years. And so if you want to circle December 3rd and give. Anna, if you haven't met her, you should. She's an incredible member of the SADS team. She does so much in our social media presence and have taken us from before her arrival. I guess we were dark ages. Now she's brought us into, wow, we have what platforms? Some of you are joining us by YouTube. I think I know what that is. Instagram, all kinds of social media presence that she's created. And she's grateful for her pets, her family, and her job, which she loves. And love working with her staff, her community, and all with me. So Anna, it is so good. I'm so thankful that you're on our team. Tia is sharing that she's thankful for our wonderful heart community, beautiful state that I live in, and family, and pie. Ooh, what's your favorite pie? Maybe I'll see it added down shortly. And I'd love to know what state you're from as well. And now back to a question from George, a 74-year-old man with Brugada syndrome, and got an ICD 2 years ago after fainting and some VTAC episodes. I'm told my Brugada is called by my long-term use of imipramine for anxiety and depression, 35 plus years. I've made several attempts to switch to a different antidepressant without success. No family history and DNA test negative. How common is it for Brugada to be caused by drug use? Whoa, that's a really good question, George. I'm sorry you're struggling with that. And can that class of antidepressants be Brugada aggravating? Yes, potential, because anything that has sodium channel blocking properties as part of its chemistry can agitate Brugada. Because I can't give you advice directly, but when I encounter situations like yours, what I try to do is take care of the whole patient. In other words, you have a defibrillator. If you have Brugada behavior that needs to be addressed, if there's ongoing behavior, then I start to try to pharmacologically correct that with a Brugada medication that we use called quinidine. What I try to do, especially in a person's situation where they were having good mental health therapeutic efficacy from that drug, in this case, imipramine, I try very hard to see if we can figure out ways to keep it in play, especially if other strategies have failed and are not working. I need to treat all of my patients. And so even though there's the drug list, and those lists are really important, www.brugadadrugs.org for our Brugada families, www.crediblemeds.org for our long QT families. They're not absolutes, meaning I'd like to avoid them, but there are scenarios where I consciously, my patients, families, and we choose to keep on or start a medication that is on the list. Then we'll think of a monitoring strategy or a counter move, but we've deemed that in the name of treating the whole patient, the risk-benefit balance for the whole patient, not just the heart, favors us trying to do that. We're very careful about that. We're very respectful of that list, but I don't view the list as absolutely off limits, especially if our attempts have failed in giving that person good treatment efficacy for that purpose. Hillary's asking me, is ocean swimming still to be avoided with LQT1? It depends. It depends on what kind of LQT1, how severe is that LQT1, how has that LQT1 been treated. And having said all of that, as a general rule, I have competitive swimmers with LQT1. I have competitive swimmers in a confined space called the competitive pool, back and forth. We have not really embraced an enthusiasm for competitive triathlons with that swimming portion in the dark, murky lake, ocean, just because if there were to be a long QT episode, unlikely if we're treated, but now we have a different problem. We won't see where they started to submerge. We won't be able to recognize them. And even if 10 seconds, 20 seconds later, the long QT heart rebooted and came back into rhythm on its own, now we have a different problem. We've been submerged for 20, 30 seconds, and now we're in the midst of drowning. So I'm not a huge fan of deep water swimming, but if that is like passion for that family, then I try to even keep ocean swimming in play, but I have to then be sure that I'm really confident that I have their long QT substrate, the threat, neutralized as best as I can. Regina is sharing that she's grateful for all of her heart friends and the amazing people she's met through SADS and the ICD support group. And we've developed a great group of ARVC friends, and their support has made living with this so much less lonely. Thanks for SADS for making this group possible. And Regina, I love that one because this has been something that we've been very excited about and grateful for, is to bring ARVC into the home of SADS Foundation. And we hope you find this your home. We love having our ARVC families, our ACM families. I hope we have become a good home, and we will, of course, become an even better home as over time. And so there's another cardiomyopathy family where arrhythmias is the primary portal where we are working to become their home too. And that's going to be pretty exciting as we build that out, and more to come with an announcement of that specific home for that genetic version of cardiomyopathy. That was called a teaser since I didn't name the gene and those families yet, but soon to be announced. Tisha, good question. Any contraindications with GLP-1 agonists with CPVT, husband just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes? And I would say so far so great in terms of side effect profile or compatibility with any of our conditions. Just saw a patient about 3 hours ago, started her weight loss journey with one of the GLP-1 agonists, Monjari, I think is the trade name, tirzepatide. Semaglutide is the other one, trade name. maybe it's Wegovy. And in any way, there is no QT prolonging signal that we've seen from those GLP-1 agonists. There's no arrhythmic irritability that we've seen. So far, so great. And obviously, with new medicines, you learn more and more as the so-called real world experience emerges. But from the standpoint of CPVT or long QT, if your healthcare team said, I think in this case, your husband, because of type 2 diabetes, would benefit from that, I have virtually no fear, angst, anxiety about the use of it in the back with CPVT in the background. Jan, our development director, is grateful for red rocks, blue skies, and road runners. Oh, that was poetic. I love that. Even more grateful for SADS colleagues, SADS families, medical professionals who take care of them, and then seeing many people in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago is really, really special. Aaron, who is the chief architect of SADS Live and has done, I think, basically all 155 episodes, for which I could have done none of them without Aaron. She is really a special member of our staff, and I'm grateful for her. And she says she's grateful for her family, friends, and be able to meet the wonderful SADS community monthly on SADS Live, and sometimes bi-monthly that we get to do this. So Hillary is asking, are ice baths and saunas to be avoided in LQT1? And we could just talk about them for every condition. Long QT, doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, 3, 17, Brugada, CPVT, ARVC. Honestly, I'm not worried about ice baths or saunas. Full disclosure, I've done an ice bath. We have one out on our deck right now. My boys, ages 25 and 27, they kind of are into it. My 27, my second son, he's really into health and fitness and is very knowledgeable about all of the health benefits of ice baths. So I've done it, I've tried it, and I do. After the hot shower, as hot as I can have my shower in the morning, I do finish with about 2 minutes of as cold as I can possibly have the shower. I feel good. I don't know. Does that all work? Does it release the endorphins? But I like it. And now back to data. The sauna connection. I'm not really worried about saunas at all. In theory, saunas, if you stay in a hot tub or a steamer or a dry sauna, and you increase your core body temperature significantly above, say, 103 degrees Fahrenheit, that overheating of your core could be Brugada agitating. So I just tell my Brugada families, don't overheat. Be in a hot tub with it at 103 degrees or less. Don't do the 105 degree kind of hot tubs. Just be in moderation. The heat, not a big deal for most of the other conditions. We recommend fever reduction in long QT syndrome, particularly LQT2. So by extension, maybe sauna moderation. Now the cold baths, the ice baths, maybe the reason why LQT1 was mentioned is because of the swimming connection in LQT1 and maybe the abrupt activation of vagal tone when a person dove into a cold body of water, and then that triggered the long QT episode and made the fainting and the near drowning occur. Could that happen in ice baths? Possibly, but again, I think most of this is as a trigger for the unknown, undiagnosed, untreated. After diagnosis and treatment, I don't know that ice baths pose much risk at all, but it has not been systematically studied. We've actually thought about it. Bring in some of our long QT patients, put them in an ice bath, have them on telemetry, Might be kind of a cool study. Oh, that was good. Cool study. I didn't actually mean to do that. Anyway, we'll move on to Allie's, who is thankful for her family, the SADS community, the wonderful SADS team, and amazing doctors like you, Mike. Well, I love that. Thanks, Allie. That's sweet of you. And Anna, and you agree, Allie, that Anna is the best and thankful for her. I would not disagree with that. Anna, Aaron, the team, we really have a special SADS team devoted to you. Jennifer, and I've just recently gotten to know Jennifer, so that was really sweet because I'm thankful for her and her role in SADS now. And she's thankful for people like me, where we've dedicated our career to saving and improving lives of SADS families like hers. And that's from Jennifer, our SADS Community Outreach Coordinator. This is a relatively new position in the SADS Foundation, and boy, oh boy, has Jennifer done an amazing job with it already. I'm so excited for what next year and the years to come with her role in community outreach. So very thankful for Jennifer. Instagram from Catherine, grateful for SADS and the connection 30 years ago with another long QT family. So many beautiful advances in the realm of SADS and LQT3. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like that, isn't it? 30 years and you blink. And for me, my SADS journey is now, I guess, officially not quite 30, Catherine, but 28 years old when I had my close encounter with my first long QT patient during my first night of call during pediatric residency here at Mayo Clinic in November of 1996. So 28 years ago. And that gave me my aha moment of who I would be. And so I'm thankful for Jonathan, that 10-year-old boy, because he showed me who I would become when I would grow up and have a career committed to long QT families and the other SADS conditions, have a research program devoted to getting smarter about those conditions. And in some ways, life is kind of like that chain reaction of that epiphany moment might not have happened if Jonathan didn't go swimming that day against his brother and have that near drowning and have me be the admitting physician who would take care of Jonathan then and now. And so I'm thankful for that, that thankfully it didn't start out of direct tragedy for that family, but that family, he is my why, gave me the reason or the discovery of, yep, now I know who I'll become when I grow up. So thankful for that. And Shayna is grateful for my son's elementary school who saved his life when he had his first cardiac arrest before we knew anything about his heart. Also grateful for his ICD recommended by Dr. Ackerman that has now saved his life 2 more times. Oh, now I know who this is. And I'm, Shayna, thankful for you and your son and your family. And isn't that awesome that element school became not just teaching really important things like reading, writing, arithmetic, but being lifesavers and having a campus? And won't that be really special when one day everybody who graduates from junior high, high school, joins the army of first responders, having learned how to do chest compression, CPR, knowing how to grab that AED, put it on, and hit the button if instructed to do so. When that becomes the drill, then we'll have a lot more life-saving reports. Caitlin's asking me, how do I foresee the landscape of treatment changing for long QT1 as more incidental findings are found with no family history and no prolongation of the QT from any Holter or stress test? Oh, that's a great question, Caitlin. And this sounds like somebody who I want to add on to my research team, because I love that inquiry, because I think the landscape is changing. I'll give you an example. The law of the land just not too many years ago was if you own a genetic marker for long QT, CPVT, You must be put on prophylactic medications. Not really the law of the land anymore. In fact, we stopped following that law in our program over a decade ago and started to say, you know what? We will have to get comfortable with non-treatment of saying, yep, you own that genetic thing, but we don't have to treat you with a prophylactic therapy. Maybe the risk benefit supports non-treatment monitoring preventative measures. That, when we started doing that, was viewed as, wow, heretical. How dare you do that? You're crazy. Well, we now have over 100, maybe close to 150 patients where we're not treating them actively, prophylactically. We know they have their genetic marker, but we've concluded low risk. So I think that's going to be a treatment change, is getting comfortable and confident with non-treatment. Actually, it's hard when you know it's there to say, yeah, but we don't need to treat it because we think we've tipped the balance towards everyday side effects rather than true necessity of treatment. That's one. The other landscape change that is a dream of mine, I would say, is I look forward to the day when beta blocker therapy is no longer first line. When we have come up with beta blocker free treatment solutions that are better, quality of life better than the beta blocker pathway. Now, I say that knowing that a lot of patients, the beta blocker doesn't bother them, and that's great. If it's not causing side effect in you, then it's not causing side effect in you, and you don't need to search for one. But I'm motivated to change the landscape because I get an enrichment of the patients who seek new alternatives because they are the beta blocker zombie. And so because of that, I get a biased perspective, don't I, as to how good or how well tolerated are beta blockers. It motivates me enough to find beta blocker free treatment strategies. And I think the landscape is changing and it's going to help us. I think we're going to get there. Will beta blockers be done, like not needed in long QT or CPVT by the time I retire? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to put that prediction out because then I'd have to define when I'm going to retire. So if I retire next year, then no, we won't be beta blocker free yet. But if I retire maybe in 10 plus years, we could be close. We could be close. I'm trying hard. That is a goal. And you're welcome, Tisha. And Alice is, for somebody is asking, how often should my genetic testing be repeated after my cardiac arrest if the initial testing didn't show anything? Oh, really good question. It's interesting that in sudden cardiac arrest, if that's the portal of entry, and we do the obligatory evaluation to try to find the name of the disease, sometimes we find the name and we give it the name, sudden cardiac arrest, because the echo shows hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or sudden cardiac arrest because the MRI proves the presence or confirms the presence of ARVC. Sudden cardiac arrest because afterwards the ECG showed the QT prolongation. So our detective work gives it a name. Now, many times we do the drill. Sudden cardiac arrest is the portal of entry. We do all of the tests and we find nothing. And when we find nothing, that ends up getting called idiopathic ventricular fibrillation, or IVF. Idiopathic, which I joke with our young kids, that means the idiots don't know the cause. So idiopathic. Now, do we do genetic testing if we can't find the name with our clinical test? Yes. Do we find the name genetically? Sometimes. And that sometimes is about 10%. Now, should we repeat it? Probably not. Not if it was a contemporary genetic test saying, say, circa 2020 or soon or till now. If that cardiac arrest happened back in 2010 and the test was done back then, would it be worth repeating it? Yeah, it would be, because more genes have been discovered. The quality and the sensitivity of detection has improved. So I might do it then. But what we're learning when we find nothing in the evaluation and the genetic test is negative, and you and I didn't elicit a family history, remember we're in Family Health History Month, that often that will mean that that person's cardiac arrest is that person's deal only. So that's the silver lining. Yes, we do testing on the cardiac arrest survivors, parents, siblings, children, and we do a round of investigations at least once. And if nothing is there, then that's probably that cardiac arrest survivor's deal and his or her deal only. Hi Abdul. Can RBBB, right bundle branch block, affect the U wave? Can it cause TU fusion? Almost never. So this is in the weeds a little bit about where that pattern in the QRS that we call right bundle branch block, could it affect the measurement of the QT interval and the T and U waves? Not really. It can artificially lengthen the QT measurement if that RBB, a right bundle branch block, is making the QRS time longer. But in general, that bundle branch block profile doesn't bother T and U waves. That's an interesting one, Caitlin. I was reading it, and capital letters of shocked caught my attention. Her husband was found to have the same mutation as me by accident. And what Caitlin is sharing is ARG, ARG 518. And she says, we are shocked. Well, what's fascinating, Caitlin, about that, now I'm stretching, I'm making a guess here, but there's a famous mutation called ARG, ARG 518 TER, or R518X. But that's in one gene, and that gene is the gene called KCNQ1, which is the root cause for type 1 long QT syndrome, LQT1. And it turns out that R518X is a common one of the disease causative variants. So common that it's actually in the background at a rate higher than you would predict, given that LQT1 affects about 1 in 5,000 humans. So if you go into the genome databases, you see that thing more than it should be there. And what does that tell us? It tells us that people who have R518X in LQT1 by itself, it's almost never symptomatic. Good news. It almost never shows a prolonged QT interval at rest. It always shows the QT lengthening during the stress test. And if dad has it, mom has it, and now child inherits the copy from both parents, what was weak when it's just one is actually a very severe long QT1 mutation that also causes deafness. So this is one of the original variants discovered very early on, 29 years ago, 28 years ago. And so I'm guessing if you are R518 in a different gene, then that's a new gene that I didn't know had arginine at amino acid 518. But I'm guessing you are. Now, could I be shocked that you're married? I'm going to guess that maybe Caitlin and her husband are of Scandinavian ancestry, because it looks like this mutation is a founder mutation in the Icelandic countries. And I think maybe that Icelandic country is Sweden. It's either Sweden or Norway. I could be wrong. And now I'm revealing my ignorance, because it's technically Norway, Icelandic. Oh, well, I'm glad we're at the top of the hour on that one, but it's a fascinating piece, and we're going to end it with yours. I was just quickly reading Regina's next about my thank you and my epiphany moment and thankfulness for Jonathan. Well, we are at the end, and I just want to wish all of you in SADS Nation a blessed Thanksgiving. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to Alice and her team and the privilege that I've been given to be a part of SADS, to be deemed a leader for the board, the president of the board. And I'm grateful for the SADS families who I know through SADS and those who have chosen to make me their SADS specialist. I'm indeed thankful for that. We have so much to be thankful for. My wife, oh my goodness, she's been with me. We're coming on our 1988. That makes 36th anniversary. Next year, our 4 children, our 2 granddaughters, our dog, our Brittany Bella. And you'll have to check a little video clip that I did with Bella, who is a Brittany Spaniel. So we did that. A little shout out to Brittany's Trees. Grateful for them and for all of you. So have a wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving. For those families where there is an empty chair, I'm mindful of that. But I'm still, even in the midst of that deep tragedy, whether it's recent or long, long ago, still thankful for the moments that we've had together with them, and just, but thinking of you in a special way, given how difficult that is. I will be back with you in a while. We're going to do SADS 156, December 6th, not with me, with a great interview with a genetic counselor. The next week, SADS 157, December 13th, with our Volunteer of the Year award. You're going to love visiting with him, but I won't get to be there. I'm at a meeting, but I'll be back with you. Mark your calendars, December 20th, for your questions and my answers. Goodbye, everyone. Happy